Thousands of years ago, one of the most powerful beings in Star Wars history was locked behind a cluster of black holes. We'll discuss Abeloth, Sinkhole Station, and more on today's Star Wars video. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars video. So, today let's talk about Fate of the Jedi and the main antagonist of that series, Abeloth. Now, surprisingly, there's not a lot of Fate of the Jedi content on YouTube, despite it being really the last major Star Wars book series of Star Wars Legends. Fate of the Jedi takes place after the Yuuzhan Vong invasion and the New Jedi Order, then of course the Swarm War and the Second Galactic Civil War in the Legacy of the Force series, and deals with a bunch of interesting topics, from the dismissal of Luke from the Jedi Order to the Force psychosis that some Jedi are undergoing, and to ultimately the reemergence of Abeloth. So Fate of the Jedi describes the far history of the Star Wars universe and how thousands and thousands of years before the events of modern day Star Wars, the Ones existed. Now, some people have said that the Ones are Celestials. That's probably even something that I've said in the past. But as we learn in Fate of the Jedi, it's not really that simple, at least not according to Killiks, who would know because their species actually serve the Ones and they've got a sort of community memory. Anyway, the Ones were sort of some version of Celestials, not Celestials themselves, but an ultimate evolution of the race, perhaps. Anyway, as we know from the Clone Wars, there were three Celestials: the Father, the Son, and the Daughter. The Celestials are served by a woman. We don't know much about this woman other than the fact that she would become a member of the family, although not immortal like the Celestials, and thus, in order to hopefully secure everlasting life, she drank from a place known as the Font of Power. The Font of Power is one of several metaphysical locations in Beyond Shadows, which is sort of another realm from the planet that the Ones lived on. However, instead of just making her immortal, this would transform her into the being known as Abeloth. The Killik described Abeloth to several Jedi, including Lobaka and Tekli, and they describe her as power-hungry, with her nature to seek what is beyond her grasp, and that's why she's known as the Bringer of Chaos. After the woman who was known as the Servant transformed into Abeloth, she was abandoned by her family, the ones who were presumably disgusted by what they saw. Abeloth was extremely cruel, and although we only get a little bit of her history from the Killik paintings, she seems to be, as they describe, twisted and always seeking to extend her power. The Ones used the slave race known as the Killiks to create several incredible technological wonders, including Centerpoint Station and Sinkhole Station, massive mega structures which could literally control gravity. These, and perhaps others, were used to lock Abeloth within the Maw cluster behind a series of black holes. Abeloth had apparently escaped previously, before Fate of the Jedi, but was always reined in and returned to her prison by the Ones. However, everyone who's watched the Clone Wars knows that the Ones were no longer available by 40 ABY, so when Abeloth re-emerged, she was free to ravage the galaxy without any major force to stop her. But how did Abeloth get free in the first place during Fate of the Jedi? Well, we actually have to go back to Legacy of the Force. Centerpoint Station, which could also be used as a weapon due to its immense gravitational powers, was destroyed during the Second Galactic Civil War. With Centerpoint Station destroyed, it was no longer to passively keep the black holes together within the Maw, and so Abeloth began to extend her powers. That first was manifested with Force psychosis, but during even the Yuuzhan Vong War, before the destruction of Centerpoint and before Abeloth's cage began to open, Jedi hiding in the Maw could feel her effects, so she was extremely powerful. Eventually, Abeloth is also able to destroy Sinkhole, and she actively makes her way through the galaxy. The Killiks, however, have another belief. They see Abeloth as the Bringer of Chaos and someone who appears during periods of war. According to them, Abeloth serves as a sort of cleanser. And here's a quote: "When Abeloth escapes, it is always in a time of great strife. Sometimes when war grows too powerful, the bringer of chaos is released. She shatters the old order so a new one can rise. That leads some to believe that Abeloth may not actually be simply an enemy of the Celestials, but perhaps a tool, with the Celestials often being portrayed as this sort of greater force at play within the Star Wars galaxy. A greater force and a greater aspect of the force as well, Killix seeing the two perhaps as the same. When Jedi Rainer Thule points out that, well, the galaxy's not actively at war right now, the Killix responds by saying, of course it is, the Jedi and the Sith have been at war for 5,000 years, and if you think about it, it really was a Sith, Darth Caedus, facing off against the Jedi, which caused Abeloth to escape. When Abeloth does escape into the galaxy, traditionally she brings destruction and the apocalypse, but also change and new beginnings. So the Killix, knowing what will happen most likely based on what has happened in the past, are prepared to regrow their colonies and submit to the ones, the architects as they call them, the son and the daughter primarily, when they return to reign in Abeloth as they always have in the past, not knowing of course that at this point the ones are no longer existing, alive, I'm not sure the exact words. So Abeloth's reemergence seems to be an apocalyptic event and one that now cannot be stopped. Eventually Abeloth, who has immense shape-shifting and force powers, takes control of Coruscant and begins to kill billions when the Jedi confront her. Abeloth grows more powerful the more pain and suffering she consumes, but was quote-unquote killed both beyond shadows, that metaphysical realm I discussed earlier, and through her avatars in real life. But Luke knew that she would not be killed and that this was only a temporary setback. Unfortunately, we never got the rest of Abeloth's story. That was never further covered. In Star Wars Legends, Fate of the Jedi was ended. The series that would have came afterwards would probably have shown Luke's Quest Knights, which is the group that he created to search for the Mortis Monument and the Mortis Dagger, going off on adventures, and Fate of the Jedi even ties in a bit with the Legacy comics and Darth Krayt. But again, we never got all of that, so a little bit of a disappointment, but that's the basic introduction into Abeloth, and more importantly for the purposes of this video, how she was in particular locked behind that cluster of black holes in the Maw installation. And yeah, basically, as I said, Centerpoint and Sinkhole Station both used gravity effects to literally pull black holes together, and that was the only thing keeping Abeloth and her immense power constrained. And black holes are pretty much the most powerful and most extreme force of nature, and multiple of those weren't even enough given enough time. How black holes would actually eventually float apart despite their immense gravitational pull or whatever else, we're not going to worry about today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and a comment. Let me know if you've read Fate of the Jedi and which part was your favorite. Until next time though guys, this has been EckhartsLadder. Be safe and may the Force be with you.